is to ensure that you start your day very equipped with what is happening locally and internationally. Now, personally, one of the stories that made my day yesterday, before even I bring in my counterpart, is that 11.9 Ugandans can neither read nor write. Now, Monday, you're going to be joining the rest of the world in celebrating the International Literacy Day. But yesterday, the Minister of State from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Peace Mutuzo, had a press conference at the Media Center in Kampala, and she revealed this. Now, just imagine being there. You can't read, you can't write. Do you know what that kind of life can be? Think about it, you who is watching us. If you couldn't read, you couldn't write, how would you be in today's Uganda? Well, that is what I'll put to my colleague, Jethro. Good morning.
Good morning, Robert. Hope you had a wonderful night. Personally, I did. You see, talking about literacy, the most important thing is how you have to achieve personal goals. How will you navigate into the daily life? So I am imagining when I cannot read, I cannot write. I mean, how do I communicate to you? But of course, not forgetting, we do have digital literacy, we do have financial literacy, we do have a disciplinary literacy. So literally, these are things that Ugandans, actually every human being needs to encompass into their life to ensure that they get somewhere. So, but what does that mean? Education is the key to success.
Well, indeed, education is the key to success. What story made your evening?
Well, what made my evening actually yesterday, for example, in Liantonde, Robert, are you aware, there is a head teacher who was arrested. Why? He is managing a primary school, but as some of the government officials were actually doing a survey, they realized that teachers are actually rearing cows and hens in the classrooms.
There was chicken there in the classroom, and some classrooms, teachers were also sleeping in one of the classrooms.
So the question is, where are we going? If these are mature people that have an obligation of serving the nation, do I have to patrol what you're doing all the time? Do I have to be like monitoring and evaluating what you're doing? Well, it could be my mandate to ensure that I oversee all these activities. But hey, our education system, if the government is investing in what it could to ensure that we are somewhere, science teachers, they did increase their salary as the arts teachers are waiting. Now, for you, you're just there looking at things anyhow, and you're rearing and, hey, come on.
You know, what first came to my mind, actually for me, I didn't look at the teachers, because when I looked at, I think it was the cow or someone in that story, who heads the district or education in the district, he talked about underfunding. And if you've traveled, Jethro, to many of these schools down there, spoke to what these teachers go through, you know, truth be told, there are strides government has made.
Yes.
But some of these teachers are working under conditions that are very unbearable. No teacher, just think about it, would want to sleep in a classroom. Think about it even before we castigate. Why are these teachers sleeping in a classroom? Leave alone this one who is having chicken, and one who is turning it into a kraal, that his cow or at night can sleep, can be housed there. But just think, there's a story some time back I was watching of a headmaster. It rained, what he goes through. But what came to my mind first was, if the teachers are in such a situation, and they are teaching, and the children they are teaching are sitting the same exams. Your son, let me just use for example at Green Hill, my daughter at St. Mary's Chitende, if it's a secondary school, they are sitting the same exams. They are being marked using the same standards. Something rang in my mind.
But can we easily, Robert, find equality? Because what you're talking about, to me, somehow, somewhere, it is difficult. It is true. Why are teachers rearing animals from classrooms? Why are teachers sleeping in classrooms? I mean, these are at times unavoidable circumstances. But the question is, at what point should we blame the government? If you're given an opportunity to serve, how ready are you as an individual to ensure that you're serving the nation in that capacity? How are you using the resources that are available? Now, that is the point. So before we start pinpointing at this and that, you as an
very
individual,
meager resources, because you're an headmaster. I'm not a devil's advocate,
Please.
but I'm trying to put myself, because
in their shoes.
I've moved around this country. You're an headmaster, teachers are posted, they have nowhere to sleep. They send you Jethro, they have sent you teachers. You want them to teach, they have nowhere to sleep. And the money they get, they can't find a house within that jurisdiction or that area. And you want
And
to
they have
teach.
to resort to sleeping in the classrooms.
And they end up sleeping in the classrooms. Because not by their desire that they want to save money. Well,
Actually, before you go to another the issue, that takes me to some of the leaders that we do have. For example, yesterday I did hear Elias Lukwago, the Lord Mayor, coming out to say he has unfinished business.
for 25 years in
So the
Kampala.
question is, what is that unfinished business that someone has to come and complete that you did not complete? Is this your home really?
In 25 years, from a member of parliament, then Lord Mayor, now you still, I think sometimes our voters have been taken for granted.
But do we know what we want? Now, that is the question as a voter. Before you're being taken for granted, do you know what you want as a voter?
Well, we're opening a tin of worms or a Pandora's box. Let's just go for what local stories have for us this morning, Jethro.
Yesterday, the Parliament vetted the new principal judge. And of course, the Parliamentary Appointments Committee has employed the newly appointed principal judge, Lady Justice Jane Francis Abodo, to prioritize timely access to justice for all Ugandans. This call was made during her vetting process at Parliament as legislators emphasized the need to address the long-standing issue of case backlogs within the judiciary. Over the weekend, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni appointed Justice Abodo as the principal judge, replacing Justice Flavian Nzeija, who was earlier appointed as the Deputy Chief Justice. Justice Abodo, who previously served as the Director of Public Prosecutions, has actually appeared before the Parliamentary Appointments Committee for vetting, which was held in a camera. Speaking to members of the committee after the vetting, legislators cited the heavy responsibility awaiting Justice Abodo, especially in reducing case backlog. However, the leader of opposition, Joel Senyonyi, was concerned over cases stuck in the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Committee members also raised concerns over how some courts deny bail to the accused persons despite the constitutional principle of presumed innocence. They called for clear and fair bail guidelines to uphold justice for all. When approached for comment after her vetting, the newly appointed principal judge, Justice Jane Abodo, had this to say, and actually he says she is ready to take on the mantle. Now, the Democratic Party as well also suspended all leaders in Greater Masaka districts, Kampala, Metropolitan and Jinja for what the party president Robert Mao terms being rebellious against the party principles. DP party president Robert Mao told the media in Kampala that National Executive Committee has taken over their roles in processing candidates ahead of next year's general election. The districts in Greater Masaka where the DP officials have been suspended include the Masaka City, Chotera Rakai, Bokomansimbi and Kalangala. DP President Mao accuses DP officials of being rebellious to the party principles. He says the National Executive Committee has taken over their roles. Another person suspended is the former National Executive Secretary Sulaiman Chidandala, accused of selling the DP registrar to the National Unity Platform. Mao has, however, decried the diminishing support of DP in Uganda, where it used to be a stronghold. Meanwhile, DP has unveiled Beatrice Mao as a DP flag bearer for Kampala mayoral seat after her closest competitor, John Bosco Muzanganda, stepped down. DP says further, they have so far received 197 applications from aspirants who intend to go to Parliament on their ticket. And in Makerere University alumni, CEOs and investors are converged to chart path for accelerated socio-economic transformation in sub-Saharan Africa. The third Deputy Prime Minister Harriet Rukia Nakadama commended the university's convocation and alumni leadership for convening the discussions on the theme entrepreneurship, innovation and value creation. Nakadama commissioned 5 working teams of CEOs and investors tasked with transforming Makerere University into a hub of innovation and enterprise. The keynote speaker, leadership coach Peter Chimbowa, emphasized the intergenerational learning for younger alumni who can coach seniors to uncover hidden challenges and equip organizations with the digital skills. State Minister for Youth and Children Affairs, Dr. Balam Barugahara, says the summit is a timely platform to unite leaders for socio-economic growth. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, pointed to institutions like the Infectious Diseases Institute and the Economic Policy Research Center, urged CEOs to support young innovators. For the alumni, the summit was more than an event, it was a milestone. The summit concluded with a renewed call for partnership, innovation and entrepreneurship to drive Uganda's transformation. And of course now in Kabong, in Kabong, the government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in partnership with the World Food Programme and the Food and Agriculture Organization, is set to roll out the NutriCash initiative starting next month. The program will be implemented in Abim, Moroto and Napak districts, where each pregnant mother will receive 48,000 shillings monthly for 30 months. Malnutrition remains a serious challenge in the Karamoja sub-region, with an estimated 270 children aged 6 to 59 months affected between last year and this year. Hundreds of pregnant and breastfeeding mothers are also experiencing acute malnutrition. Kabong currently leads malnutrition levels at 19.6%, followed by Kotido at 18.4%, Moroto at 17.8%, Napak at 16.9%, Amodat at 15.2%, Nabidatuk at 14.7%, Nakapiripirit at 12.2%, Karenga at 9.6%, and Abim at 4.6%. This situation has been attributed to high poverty levels, insecurity, and hunger caused by climate shocks, leading to frequent crop failures. It is against this backdrop that government, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in partnership with the World Food Programme and the Food and Agriculture Organization, is introducing the NutriCash scheme in Abim, Moroto and Napak. Under this initiative, each pregnant mother will receive 48,000 shillings monthly for 30 months. Robert.
Well, thank you for what is trending on the local scene. Allow me to take you through what is making headlines on the international scene. Now we begin with Chinese president and Russian leader in deep conversation during the Victory Day celebration. Now, Russia's Vladimir Putin was seen deep in conversation with China's Xi Jinping during Victory Day celebrations in Beijing on Wednesday. The landmark parade is a centerpiece of the 80th Victory Day commemoration in Beijing. It began with an address and troop inspection from China's president. Cutting-edge equipment, including missiles, tanks, and fighter jets, are all on display, with hundreds of domestically built aircrafts and hundreds more ground armaments. Over the course of 70 minutes parade was what was being witnessed. World leaders from 26 countries right across Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America attended. Most of these leaders were invited by the Chinese president. Now it is said that China held the biggest military parade in decades, marking the end of World War II and the Second Sino-Japan War. Now, away from China, we move to Gaza, where hunger crisis, children make shifts kitchen in Khan seen amidst reports. Now, residents of Khan Yunis were seen standing in long queues for hours on Monday outside community kitchens, known locally as Takachia, in desperation attempts to secure food amidst Gaza's deepening hunger crisis. Footage shows people scrambling for food at makeshift kitchens, with women, children, and the elderly among those waiting. What we cook daily is insufficient for the flowing people. As you can see, the large number and the food are not enough to meet their needs, said Saad Abdin, who runs one of the kitchens. The food we collect from the makeshift kitchen is barely enough for our lunch or dinner, added Hindu Ahmed Hizaji, an Egyptian national living in Gaza. According to the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, around 50,000 people in Gaza are now facing starvation despite a lot of effort. This has also led to death. The situation has been categorized as Phase 5, the highest level of acute food insecurity. Israel rejects the findings as based on Hamas lies. They accuse the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, of twisting its own rules and ignoring its own criteria. The ICRC strongly denied the accusations. Now, more than 1,000 people were reportedly killed during Sunday's landslides when it struck the village of Tarasin in Mara Mountains area, located in Sudan's West Darfur region. Images released on Monday show the aftermath, with debris covering the area, uprooted trees, personal belongings covered from underneath of the mud. The villagers gathered at the site of this tragedy. The Sudan Liberation Movement, a militia group in the region, reported that the village witnessed massive and devastating landslides, noting that initial information indicates that all the village's residents, estimated at about 1,000, perished, with only one survivor reported. The group added that the disaster was caused by heavy rainfall that occurred during last week of August. It called on the United Nations as well as regional and international organizations to assist in recovering the bodies of the deceased to be buried under the rubble. In recent weeks, Sudan has experienced heavy rains that have led to floods and rains, resulting also in so many forms of dangers and casualties, and also damaged public roads and private property as well. Now, it's very unfortunate for our brothers in Sudan. This area is war-torn, but now also there are problems of nature. There's so many rains, the floods, now landslides. This is a region, much as they are calling for international organizations. It is not that very safe to go there.
Yeah, true. It is not safe, but of course, I want to appreciate the government of Uganda that among the refugees that we have here in Uganda, at least we have Sudanese. So if there is a way of how we can as well assist in that area, I think it will be very proper, because talking about the East African community and they are actually part, I think it is really very upside, but of course we put all that to the Almighty to see how.
But we believe humanitarian organizations will go there. Well, I want to credit the Yori channel that supplies us with these international stories. Thank you so much, our brothers and sisters over there. Now, Jethro, what do we have in the press this morning?
In the New Vision, Ugandan youths lured to fight in Ukraine war. Chirabo, are you ready? Well, ex-soldiers also targeted in Russia, Ukraine war recruitment. But of course, there is also honoring China's 80th victory anniversary. There is also experts sound alarm as Lake Bunyonyi turns brown. There you will find the passengers on Lake Bunyonyi, residents of Kabale and Rubana districts, who have expressed concern as Lake Bunyonyi, renowned as Africa's second deepest lake and one of Uganda's most scenic natural treasures, has turned brownish, emitted unpleasant odor, and developed an oily film on its surface. Of course, that is what actually you will find in the New Vision. Robert.
While looking at the Daily Nation this morning, why Ruto Raila saved Sakaja. Now also in the Daily Nation, puzzle of ghost schools, learners and lost billions. Governors set up resistance against executive decrees. What were they? And still a big headline there, plus so much graphics for you there. That is after 45 billion NTSA deal, tycoons eye sugar trade. Well, those are some of the stories in the Daily Nation. Now, the Citizen this morning, Mwinyi vows to leave no debt as Zanzibar ups project financing. Now, inside Tanzania's plan to be regional's trade gateway. Still there, we look at why presidential candidates are amid no-show queries. And still outlandish campaign pledge, creativity or political comedy. Now, what is happening in Tanzania? They're also preparing for that trying moment of elections. They're seeing it ahead as we are seeing it at the same pace. So much there for you, Tanzanians in this country. Please interest yourself. The Citizen has so many interesting stories, and so does the Daily Nation. There's so much regarding politics and issues of corruption in Kenya as well, as covered by the dailies. Allow us to take a short break. When we return, of course, we'll be having our newsreel, and we shall be enjoying the song of the day this morning. Please keep it with us.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
And in Makerere University, alumni, CEOs and investors are converged to chart path for accelerated socio-economic transformation in sub-Saharan Africa. The third Deputy Prime Minister Harriet Rukia Nakadama commended the university's convocation and alumni leadership for convening the discussions on the theme entrepreneurship, innovation and value creation. Nakadama commissioned 5 working teams of CEOs and investors tasked with transforming Makerere University into a hub of innovation and enterprise. The keynote speaker, leadership coach Peter Chimboa, emphasized the intergenerational learning for younger alumni who can coach seniors to uncover hidden challenges and equip organizations with the digital skills. State Minister for Youth and Children Affairs, Dr. Balam Barugahara, says the summit is a timely platform to unite leaders for socio-economic growth. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, pointed to institutions like the Infectious Diseases Institute and the Economic Policy Research Center, urged CEOs to support young innovators. For the alumni, the summit was more than an event, it was a milestone. The summit concluded with a renewed call for partnership, innovation and entrepreneurship to drive Uganda's transformation. And of course now in Kabong, in Kabong, the government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in partnership with the World Food Programme and the Food and Agriculture Organization, is set to roll out the new NutriCash initiative starting next month. The program will be implemented in Abim, Moroto and Napak districts, where each pregnant mother will receive 48,000 shillings monthly for 30 months. Malnutrition remains a serious challenge in the Karamoja sub-region, with an estimated 270 children aged 6 to 59 months affected between last year and this year. Hundreds of pregnant and breastfeeding mothers are also experiencing acute malnutrition. Kabong currently leads the malnutrition levels at 19.6%, followed by Kotido at 18.4%, Moroto at 17.8%, Napak at 16.9%, Amodat at 15.2%, Nabiratuk at 14.7%, Nakapiripirit at 12.2%, Karenga at 9.6%, and Abim at 4.6%. This situation has been attributed to high poverty levels, insecurity, and hunger caused by climate shocks, leading to frequent crop failures. It is against this backdrop that government, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in partnership with the World Food Programme and the Food and Agriculture Organization, is introducing...
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Speak of the Day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the Rider Selection Campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll-free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
My friend Baka was found to be positive for Mpox at his old age. He needs our prayers. By the way, Timo, did you know that Mpox-related deaths occur among people with underlying conditions like HIV/AIDS, diabetes, malnutrition, and other old age-related illnesses?
Of late, I've not been following Mpox issues. I thought it wasn't that serious. So, are you saying that as long as one has any underlying condition and feels unwell, just run to the hospital?
Yes! You do not have to wait. If you have any of the signs and symptoms like a body rash, a fever, headache, and body weakness, visit your nearest health facility immediately. We do not have to take any chances, my brother.
We need to immediately inform our peers in the club to be careful.
You see, with Mpox, the magic is in getting treatment early. Those who have suffered severe disease, they wasted a lot of time either treating themselves or ignoring the disease.
Save your life. Seek treatment early. Only from professional health workers whenever you feel unwell. For more information
about Mpox,
call the Ministry of Health toll-free line on 0800 1066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health Uganda
with support from UNICEF, WHO,
and its partners.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome back from, of course, that break. I hope the song of the day really did something to you, because we are not only here to inform you of what is happening local and international, but also to stir up your mood, you know, as you start your day. You're an informed person, but of course there's some that baggage. Whatever the night was, it's morning now. Let's forget about that and let's thank God for the new day and move on. Now, earlier on, as we opened up this show, I talked about a huge number of Ugandans who can neither read nor write. And I asked my colleague, just imagine you're in a world where you cannot read and you can't write. Now, at these days and times, we have what we call the digital era. And within the digital era has even come the AI, artificial intelligence. But you're a Ugandan, you cannot read, you cannot write. And when you get a letter, of course, we're no longer even writing using letters. I send you a message. You have to rush to a friend and tell him, excuse me, what is this person telling me? If it's money, numeracy also when it's a problem. So they have sent me how much? Please, my PIN, you just imagine that
like
light.
Helping a grandmother down in the children who is aged.
Now we have light, the former Yaka.
Yes.
even putting in those digits. Now if you want to get a passport, there's e-government. What hard a life can be. But we have about 11.9 million Ugandans who can neither read nor write. If you round it up, it is about 12 million Ugandans. Now, these are people that are suffering. But of course, we must commend government. There have been strides because when the NRM government came in 1986, we weren't even 50%. As we speak, we are over 70% of people who can read and write. But still, we can't say that let's let that go. Now, Jethro, to Uganda watching us, I know many may not even resonate with what we are talking about, because in many families, those in urban centers, even a child of P1, P2, they can read and read fluently. But what do you think could be the causes in this day and age that we still have such a population of ours that can't read nor write?
Robert, in my opinion, first of all, let me first give you an example. I do have a comrade, he's a border rider within Intinda there. And I do use him all the time, most of the times. But even saving a phone contact, after you reading him your digits, 070234 whatsoever, and say, put Chirabo Robert. Problems. Writing Robert Chirabo or Jethro Kasaiji is a challenge. So recently, he went ahead to he was here bodyguard to someone that side of Ginger as they were campaigning in that NRM primaries. I asked him, I want to give you an offer. If I want you to leave this job of border riding and whatsoever. He told me, my brother, I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school. I asked him, where is the challenge? But remember, he is riding actually people who are elites, professors, teachers, doctors. So how best can we curb this vice? Because the most important issue is, how does someone navigate into their daily life? Because every day, Robert, you leave your home, at least you have to go to the shop and buy something. But the person who is the shop attendant probably doesn't know Luganda, for example, because here in Uganda Central, if you don't know English, at least you know some Luganda. So the question is, how are you transacting your day-to-day life? Now, that is how one has to navigate into the daily life. Now, let's talk about achieving personal and professional goals. Now, that is also another issue. So, how best can this be fought when we do have that digital
First,
literacy?
even before how we can fight,
about it.
Let's look at what are the causes. You know, in this day and age, one would expect that maybe, at least since we had peace and tranquility in this country for the 40-some many years.
Teaching methods. You told me, you asked me a question, have you been to the different parts of the country? I said yes. But I also want to ask you the same question. Do you know you move up country and you find teachers communicating to students in their mother tongue?
Was that the semantic curriculum, the lower primary?
You understand?
They said teach them in the language they understand most. When they get to, I think, P3, primary 3,
but the question
then introduce the English to them.
That is okay, but the question is, how best can a child or someone transit from the mother tongue to now the English? That is the question. So that is the teaching method. I'm talking about it as a course.
So you're saying that there are even those who have stepped in a classroom?
Yes.
But they failed to learn to read and write.
Yes, it is very important. Remember, one, we have slow learners. The way I understand is not the way you understand. You've heard about people talking about, those are border talks. The question is, why are you saying those are border talks? So people have a narrative that border riders have their way of thinking, and a one Chirabo, you also have your way of understanding things. But it's not the way to go. I mean, if I have a right to my opinion, why don't you respect it? So teaching methods, what needs to be done?
Because I remember, yes, sometime back there was a survey that was done and it was found that P3 pupils in some schools up country could not compose a sentence, could not read, understand, what they are actually, they had no, construct a sentence, constructing a sentence. You don't need very many words to, this is a boy. I mean, how many words are those? This, constructing a sentence, I'm going home. The cat is under the table. That these were P3 students, but they couldn't construct sentences. Literally meaning they couldn't read.
You understand?
They
but also, Robert, remember, let's talk about...
They couldn't read, neither right.
The schools that, be the government or private. I mean, you go to a school where you ask a student a general knowledge question. I mean, what are some of the factors that someone should consider when they are starting a business? And you get weird answers. But they have professional teachers. So the question is the challenge with the teachers or the children?
So one of the reasons, Jethro, that you've alluded to, one is teaching methods. Okay, now let's try to look for another reason why we still have these huge numbers.
Inadequate resources.
Yes, that is poverty.
Limited access to proper educational methods and the teaching aids. That is an issue. For example, I do host a show, The Front Bench. I did host officials from the Law Reforms Commission. They said they have translated the Constitution in different languages. I asked them, where is the Constitution? Where are these books? They told me, no, you go to the district headquarters. They do have a library. The Constitution is there. But even in the feedback questions, people are asking, where is the Constitution? You're saying you've translated, but it is in English. So what is my point? How best can people understand what is being put up? Remember, as you read something and you say, Ugandans lured to participate in the Ukraine war, how many people understand that? How many people put that into context? So I'm talking about now the educational materials and the teaching aid.
Okay, so we talked about education, teaching methods, we talked about poverty, where now one of the expensive things in this country is education. One would say there is universal primary, universal secondary, but even in these UPE schools, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has always raised concern of how what is meant to be free, people are paying for it. That means it hinders some people from going into education. Let's look at also culture and norms. For example, where the girl child in many families, when you look at these figures, Ugandans that can't read and write, the female or that gender takes a bigger portion compared to the male. Now, don't you think this fact that we've had for a long time, believing the girl child is going to grow up, get married, and some families have been educating the boy child, do you think this also could be one of the factors?
It should be. Actually, I could categorize that into regional disparities. Remember, Robert, if, in my thinking, if someone already has a way of living, how do they survive in life? You can imagine a child today, young children, we see them downtown selling grab, small things. I mean, 10 years, 8 years, 12. How is their future like? You talked about poverty. They have issues at home. Your parents want you to marry. Your parents, there is a parent I talked to of late. 1, 2, 3 things. My brother, can't you get me a money for my daughter? And I'm like, madam, let us go slow. You understand? So these are some of the challenges that we have to fight, not even government. But we as colleagues, we the elites, how best can we advise these people? It is a big issue. So the norms, the assumptions that people have that the girl child or the boy child has to do this, those narratives should stop.
And you see what hurts me more, Jethro, and what we must let people know is there is what in my own view I call a curse of poverty. Why do I call it a curse? Because I've seen that a number of people born in poor families also end up poor. It is rotational. I was watching a story in one of the local TVs, I don't remember which one, that wasn't on UBC, where there's this young girl who was impregnated, I think at 13 years, by a man who disappeared. And she was in school, but she said she would study for 1 week, then sent home. Now, simply by providing sanitary towels, a chapati, I think, and also a knickers or something like that, the girl confessed that she was lured, and of course she was below 18. She couldn't consent. Even if she did, under our laws, that is not something we count, because we believe her brain has not matured enough for her to make that decision on an informed platform basing on her age. Now, this young girl conceives, gives birth. The father allowed her to complete primary 7, but after the father got upset and wanted to kill her, so she ran to, I think, the uncle. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that children born from such families, they will also not study because their parents never went to school. So it is like a curse. It is rotational. It takes the mercy of God and sensitization and made intervention, sometimes by a priest, missionaries or something like that, that they will pick one child and educate that child. But most of the times we have elite, these families, it is generational. It keeps on going on until it is broken.
Yeah, true. You see, like you said, it could be a curse. It is possible, but of course, in one way or another, we have to see how do we get out of it. I think that is why we see very many people running away from villages to come to the city center where they think there is hope. You did mention about digital literacy. We do have schools that have 2 computers, for example, be it private or government. This is the reality. But how best can these children match with someone who is from UBC secondary school to ensure that they match the standards? That is 1. 2, the setup, Robert. If I am seated with you right now, who did law, or who did journalism, or who did business, I mean, how do we cooperate to ensure that I do understand what you're talking about? Digital literacy. How can government help us to ensure that we are there?
Now, Jethro, here I want us to look at how we can solve this problem. Beginning with us community. You've given a very good example. And sometimes I feel guilty personally. Why? How do I feel guilty? Jethro, we've become very complacent as Ugandans.
That.
And very selfish indeed. You've mentioned of these young boys who sell maize, who move around with eggs. You know, a Jethro, a Robert, you comfortably buy these eggs from this child. As long, you even say, "Payo munana ga abana bange." You know, telling this boy, "Give me 8 for my children." Most of the times you're driving your car, your wife seated in front, your kids in the back seat, you know, you're passing these street children. They wave to them. Sometimes you give even them money. Give them, but make sure they don't touch you, you know. And we have universal primary education. We have local leadership. We have people of value in these communities. But we've become very... Let's first look at our responsibility, even before we go to government. Who is concerned? I remember when we were growing up, someone would ask, "Why haven't you gone to school?" They don't pay fees for you. It is none of their concern in this day, but they would ask. And even someone would ask your mother, "I've seen Bob, Tasomi, Chichi, Murade, Chichi." Today there is a way we've become...
Actually, there is something I need actually to find out. In my neighborhood, there is a very, very young girl. She knows a lot of English. She has good English. I usually ask my wife, why doesn't that girl go to school? Because every time she comes into my house, she is playing, but as I play with my boy, the English is too much. I'm surprised as a person. And I'm like, why is she not at school? Because to me, she is on that level, but she has older sisters that are going to school. So how best can we help these people?
And I love that example. Yes.
I was in Lira sometime. I found a child. I'd gone for some sports activities, Robert. I asked the boy, I don't have toilet paper. I asked him, How much is a toilet paper? 500 shillings. But at school, they require them to go with 4 toilet papers. That is 2,000 shillings. I got 2,000 shillings. I gave to the boy. I told him, make sure I don't see you tomorrow. Well, I do not know how true that was, to be honest. But I thought about it. I said, a parent cannot afford 2,000 shillings for a child to go to school.
And the community is watching.
And the community is watching. These are young boys, these are younger girls who are operating within our community. So the question is, just like you asked me, how best can we help?
As the community, yes.
That is the biggest challenge. Robert, I can find you lunchtime, you've not eaten lunch, but I can at least give you 1,000 shillings for me to help you move. Now, that is what we have to embrace. That is my thinking. But we are saying young children, and we are leaving everything to government. But even when you're not a parent,
talk about the local leadership.
Somebody.
Because when today politicians are moving left center to get our votes. We saw the NRM primaries, National Unity Platform, we see what is happening, oh God. But when you look at right from LC1, there is a person responsible for education. But I ask myself,
they can't be everywhere.
When you look at our community development officers, when you look at someone responsible for education at the district, at the parish, at the village level, why do we still have these children who are not going to school? Yet there is a UPE school. I want to tell you, in every area where there is a UPE primary school, there are children who are not going to school. Now, if it is things like toilet paper that you've just talked about, tissue, if there are those funny, small things, where are you, our politicians? Where are you, our leaders, to come up, even before you go to government, and say no? As the district chairperson, as the mayor, as the chairman LC3, we are saying this is how we are going to be able to support these children to go to school. There were schools in communities that were called community schools. A Jethro, a Robert, who are journalists coming from this particular village, would say, no, Jethro, we can't, let's help our children get educated. Gather a few, you start a school. What are we doing?
Actually,
and how can we wake up first?
I do not know why people, not even politicians, not even government, I do not know why people always wait for that turn. For example, if it is a festive season, if it is Christmas, that is when I want to give you a gift. If it is Eid, that is when we see people celebrating with others that do not have. Can't we start today? I have a feeling, me, you and I, we can sponsor one child, at least one. Because even if the government doesn't allow, because government pays for these students anyway in UPE and USE, that is for secondary. But you realize that there are schools where students are paying at least 100,000. So why can't a one Ugandan who receives 200,000 salary at least help a child with a toilet paper? This is how we can help each other, to me, in my thinking. Because we are waiting for leaders. You talked about leaders, but they cannot be everywhere. We have covered stories where a leader tells you that we are issuing a warning. All parents who are not taking children to school, we are going to arrest you. How many have they arrested?
Never.
Even when you arrest them, does that prompt them that a child will go to school tomorrow? Robert, if I'm demanding you money, you have my 200,000. If I arrest you, where will the money come from? You're in the prison, you're in the cell. So there is that opportunity that we have to give to everybody. We need to save a child. We need to fight illiteracy as Ugandans, as we are fighting for that social economic transformation as a nation. We need to come out and say, hey guys, can we help these children? I believe we can.
Well said. I hope people will listen to those words of wisdom, because we must save a generation. There are many young children today who are not going to school, and they are of school going age. We look at them, we see them, we exploit them in one way or the other. Can we remember that education is the key to success and value that? Now let's look at government efforts. Now the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, through its Department of Community Development and Literacy, leads adult learning and community education initiatives in Uganda. Now, our government of Uganda, with support from the DVV, that is international, has come up with a program. Now, this program is called Integrated Community Learning for Wealth Creation. Okay. Integrated Community Learning for Wealth Creation. Now, what are the things they look at? They look at literacy and numeracy. Can they be able to read? Can they be able to count? Then there is village savings and loan associations. So when these people come together, they show they can read, they can count, then also they can save money. They look at livelihood and vocational skills. They train these people vocational skills because, Jethro, you cannot be a good tailor when you can't read, you can't write. How are you going to get my measurements? You know? They also look at community development and establishment of community learning centers. Now, they have also put learning centers. Now, previously they had one called, I think it was FAL. And here, it was basically only about teaching people who missed school. So they would come, they would teach them basics. Counting, reading, writing.
All those are good initiatives.
Good initiatives. But then the men were not responding. The Jethro of this world would not appear. How would you tell me government eri mukuyamba batasoma waliwe wali klasi abatasoma?
People fear to get ashamed.
People, you know,
there is edge. Robert, you see, I think there is also time for everything. Of course, there is a saying that goes that it is never too late.
Yes.
But I believe sometimes someone is late. Because at what point...
But you're late, but you're leaving.
What I'm saying, so at what time and at what point, Robert, should you attain a certain level of education, a certain level of financial literacy, at what level of digital literacy? You don't take the digital literacy in the villages to my grandmother. She will not understand. Still, she will have to call me that, hey, my muzukulu, kakati, what do I do about this? So, it is impossible.
They're just warming you up, not really, but warming you up.
For example, between you and me, you remember they used to tell us, find X. Have you ever found X really? There are things we used to fail in during our time of high school, primaries, universities, but today you know. Because you ask yourself, why did I even fail this? How? So there is time for everything, but age also matters. If you're telling me that you're teaching nursery students to about primary 2, their mother tongue, is there room for this child to grasp that good English in primary 3, primary 4? When today, a child today, even if you don't have a nanny who can speak English, people are not employing them right now. So where are we going?
Well, so much effort has to be put in to ensure that we reduce these levels. I want to commend government for the efforts. And of course, they have earmarked about 80 billion shillings for a period of about 3 years to promote digital literacy, to ensure that our people can read, can write, can count, can operate the simple operations on a mobile phone, can save in the bank, can know their bank statements and all that, to ensure that we reduce these levels. Just imagine, I want to repeat this again, just imagine a world where you can't read, you can't write, you can't count in this day and age. You have a mobile phone, like Jethro said, someone you even have to save the number.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Now, if you see how they save the names.
Problems, but also people need to put these things of being ashamed aside. If you do not know, say I don't know. Because there are those who are willing to help you. But at times we also show people that we know, yet we do not know. That is also another issue.
Jethro, we must end this. You've just reminded me one time, so many years back, I stayed in a taxi. And for some reason, you know, also these people who are in these taxis, most of the drivers, have a lot of fun. Now, this taxi driver began reading every signpost to a meeting. For reasons I don't know. Now he reached where there's God is able. He said God is able. And you see that all of us went that.
As we close this, I took my son to the hospital, and the doctor was using a lot of English. That at some point I got confused. So he asked me, "Are you giving this boy a lot of soy because you have to give her soy?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Are you talking about soil or?" But he's talking about soya. You get it? So
salt.
Is this all where we take our children to school? Remember, we have international schools that are now coming out, actually proving to be better than these other schools of ours. Every Ugandan is working hard to ensure that their children are taken to international schools. But the issue is, can't we benchmark on what they are doing, have them in our vocational institutions, have them in our universities, have them in our secondary schools and primary level, to ensure that we are also somewhere.
I'm just very happy that Ministry of Education and Sports is heading that direction. We are looking at vocationalizing secondary education. We have the lower secondary curriculum. The new, I don't want to still call it new after even they've had a set of those sit for it. So we are heading that direction. We just hope we get there. Well, we'll now go for a break and we'll return with business updates. But before business, let's go and see what Zakia Lucky has for us in Tourism Express.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Taxation is a bit complicated, and the only way to demystify it and make it as easy to understand and to comply with is through engagement. Is there a limit to the number of cars a returning citizen is bringing into Uganda? Who has paid the excise duty on this water is not the supermarket which has sold you this bottle at 1,000. It's not the business, it is the man who is going to drink this water. We strongly believe that it will only be through such constructive engagement that we'll be able to broaden our tax base and build our country together.
Buza Commissioner. Now you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887 and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
Revered as the patrons of the wild, my horn stood tall, announcing my presence among Africa's Big Five. Yet, with all my strength, I struggled to survive. Then Uganda Wildlife Authority gave us something, a safe home at the Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary. And here we begin to thrive again. Today, we are 48 members strong, with 17 cows, ready to take our unique story into the future. This is your lifetime opportunity to name a rhino, and with it, fund the conservation efforts that keep our story alive. For more information, visit our website, www.ugandawildlifeauthority.org.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
officially declare the tourism month of September 2025 launch.
Ministry y'ebyobulambuzi ekitongole kivunanyizibwa.
Take the honor to officially declare the tourism month.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Tourism Day will be a culmination of all these great executions coming through the month. But specifically in Arua, beyond just all the festivities, we shall also be bringing a bit of entertainment, and UTB is happy to sponsor.
This year's theme, Sustainable Tourism Practices, is not just a slogan. Tourism must benefit everyone, everywhere. That is the agenda for Arua. We shall gather there not only to celebrate achievements, but also to recognize individuals and institutions that have transformed our sector.
We want to transform Ugandans through tourism and having an inclusive mentality. We want to include everybody. We want to have communities involved. They should be able to enjoy tourism. They should be able to enjoy the proceeds and benefits that come along the tourism.
Compared to the first 6 months of last year, 2024, we had around 678,811 tourists coming into the country in the first 6 months of 2024. In the same period this year, the number has grown to 765,307, and this translates into a 12% growth. So I think we have all the reason to celebrate on the 22nd. But also our contribution to GDP. In the first 6 months of the year 2024, our contribution to GDP, or what we brought in, was 2.162 trillion Uganda shillings. This year, in the first 6 months of this year, we've already brought in 2.680 trillion Uganda shillings, accounting for 34% increase. I think we should clap for this. I am therefore very sure that by the time we finish this year in the next 6 months, we will have surpassed our pre-COVID number.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, thank you so much for keeping it UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda Business. And of course, I will be taking you through the business updates as they are coming in. Now, the chairperson of the Japan, that is the best Nippon Foundation, Ogata Takeju, has commended the Ministry of Agriculture for its collaboration with the Sasakawa Africa Association in improving household generation. During an inspection of Sasakawa operations in Uganda, Ogata emphasized accountability, which he noted has been consistently demonstrated by the association. Since 1996, the Nippon Foundation has been a key funder of Sasakawa Africa Association's initiatives. Over the years, the partnership has driven transformation in agriculture through training, food security programs, and now mechanization and youth empowerment. Ogata praised Uganda's government for partnering with private stakeholders to strengthen agriculture extension services. He noted the association's shift towards promoting mechanization and youth involvement in agriculture. The ministry reaffirmed its commitment to collaborating with private organizations to drive agricultural value addition. In Zirogwe, farmers showcased transformations achieved through consistent Sasakawa training, improving sustainability and productivity. The association is now prioritizing regenerative agriculture, integrating modern soil management with traditional methods to boost output and promote commercial farming. And of course, more business updates. Fighting broke out at Buloba taxi stage in Chisenyi taxi park between drivers and their leaders and the Uganda Taxi Operators Federation, UTOF, after attempts to reinstate Musa Musasizi as chairman of the Buloba Taxi Stage Association were strongly rejected by SACCO members. Musasizi, who was reportedly escorted by notorious city thugs known as Chifesi and UTOF bouncers, stormed the stage, assaulting and ordering out those manning it, sparking off, of course, violent clashes. A fighting broke out at Buloba Taxi Stage in Chisenyi Taxi Park between drivers and their leaders under the Uganda Tax Operators Federation. At Chisenyi Taxi Park, some of the aggrieved members of Buloba SACCO Taxi Stage expressed dissatisfaction over the leadership of Musa Musasizi, accusing him of embezzling their savings for nearly 27 years. Now, after raising repeated concerns over his conduct, members appointed an interim committee and dismissed Musasizi and his team from office pending resolution of the outstanding SACCO issues. The leadership wrangles prompted intervention by KCCA and UTOF. However, a scheduled meeting meant to resolve the misunderstandings collapsed after the armed gangs, allegedly under orders from one Khalidi Bale and aided by UTOF bodyguards, disrupted the session, leading to open fighting. As a result, Buloba stage was closed until further notice. Taxi leaders in Chisenyi say the root cause of the conflict is deep, seated mistrust and mismanagement. And of course, in other news, the UDB Financing Summit Day 2 at the National Development Banks have been urged to design programs that support small and medium enterprises, SMEs, which contribute over 80% of business in Africa and provide the largest share of employment. The Prime Minister, Robin Nabanja, in a statement delivered by Minister in the Office of the President, Kasule Lumumba, made the call during the second day of the Uganda Development Bank Financing Summit at Speak Resort Munyonyo in Kampala. Nabanja, in a statement, emphasized the need for national development banks across Africa to bridge the gap in affordable financing of SMEs, the agriculture sector and climate change projects, enabling them to withstand shocks. There is need for development finance institutions across Africa to work with governments, the private sector and civil society to mobilize capital and channel it where it matters most. UDB is committed to supporting SMEs, enabling them to add more export value, become formalized and grow into large enterprises. Participants, especially the youth, shared their experiences and key takeaways from the two-day summit, including the importance of initiatives that attract, of course, funding in that line. And of course, taking you into that forex, you also need to be in the know of how the currency, of course, the dollars and the euros are buying and selling right now. Of course, starting with the US dollar opening, buying at 3,539.05, and of course, selling at 3,549.05. And of course, US dollar by midday will be buying 3,534.545 and then selling at 3,544.45. And of course, it will be closing, still talking about the US dollar, at 3,534.59 and of course selling at 3,544.59. The Great British Pound will be buying at 4,780.18 and of course selling at 4,793.70. The Euro at closing will be buying at 4,134.76 and of course buying at 4,146.46. The Kenya by buying will be at 27.36 and of course selling at 27.43 and of course the Tanzania there the rand will be actually buying at 1.41 and of course selling at 1.41, and then the South African rand will be buying 200.34 and of course selling at 200.91. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it at that. Of course, GMU continues, and of course, coming up next is GMU Agenda with Robert Chirabo.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby dundalo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Taxation is a bit complicated, and the only way to demystify it and make it as easy to understand and to comply with is through engagement. Is there a limit to the number of cars a returning citizen is bringing into Uganda? Who has paid the excise duty?
You can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790 141